Hey everyone, today we have a real Chinese home-cooked dish for you, Chinese tomato and egg stir fry. Now this is like a dish that you'll see on so many Chinese dinner tables around the world. It's so easy to make, it's really comforting. To be honest, this was not one that we grew up with.
It mostly turned up as a soup.
Right, we would have tomato egg drop soup at our house. If you grew up eating ketchup with eggs, like you kind of get that tomato egg combination and why it's good. I was not a fan of ketchup and eggs growing up. Until recently, I didn't like ketchup at all.
Slander against ketchup!
So I was actually really introduced to this dish when I was studying abroad in China. All of my classmates who were not Chinese were constantly ordering this particular dish. I tried it and I was like, oh, I get it. It was rich, it's a little bit sweet, just a tiny bit. It's really good.
Do you like ketchup now?
I had kind of an epiphany about ketchup. I think my husband actually took a picture. He likes to point to this picture of me like eating a French fry with ketchup and being like, but this isn't ketchup, it's fresh tomatoes. You don't think of a tomato as like a super like umami carrier, but there is a lot of umami in here. So this recipe includes sugar. That said, if you are using extremely sweet peak season summer tomatoes, you may very well not need any sugar in this recipe. However, if you're in like January and you have like store-bought tomatoes that are not in season, they don't have a ton of flavor, the sugar is really gonna elevate this dish. So we use around 2 teaspoons. If you don't want it to taste sugary, you just want the sugar to sort of elevate and bring out the flavor of the tomato. I just am using these vine-ripened tomatoes. You can use any tomato for this dish. You use plum tomatoes, you could use beefsteak tomatoes, you could even use cherry tomatoes if you wanted to. Generally though, the larger tomatoes are a little bit better because there's less skin. You can use canned tomatoes, but to be honest, they've been blanched and peeled, so the flavor of them is gonna be a little bit different. You can use them, but I would actually recommend going with a fresh tomato. It's just gonna have a fresher taste over canned. So there are only 2 things that you need to chop here, tomatoes and a scallion. So for the tomatoes, I'm just gonna remove the core like this. And then I'm just gonna cut them into small wedges. And depending on the size of the tomatoes that you have, you can cut the tomato into quarters, kind of cut it this way, and then cut it into wedges. I actually like to cut the tomatoes slightly larger into these big wedges because they do cook down quite a bit in the sauce, and if you cut them too small, they're gonna kind of disintegrate. So we call for 4 small to medium tomatoes. I think we say that that's about a pound. You know, if you have like a glut of summer tomatoes in your garden or something and you wanna put a little bit more, it's not gonna hurt it. This is probably slightly more than a pound. This is what home cooking dishes are. Most families just make this without a recipe, and it's kind of just like, hey, for this amount of tomato, maybe instead of 4 eggs, you do 5 eggs. Like, it kind of just depends on what you want to do. With the scallion, I'm just gonna chop it. First, I cut it in half, and then I actually can do it like quarter. And this way, I don't have as long to cut. Okay, so now I'm gonna crack and season my eggs. So I'll just crack them into this bowl.
It's only 4 eggs?
Yep.
Downright economical.
So now that I've cracked the eggs, I'm gonna season them. So I'm gonna add a 1/4 teaspoon of white pepper. Quite a bit of white pepper actually for this amount, but it's a lot of tomatoes too. A 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I'll be adding more salt later in the recipe. And then a 1/2 teaspoon of sesame oil. People always ask us, toasted sesame oil? And to be honest, like I never really knew that there was any other kind. Okay. So, was there another ingredient? Oh yes, Shaoxing wine. I actually don't always add the Shaoxing wine. Like this is not a strictly necessary ingredient. So it's a teaspoon of Shaoxing wine. And now I will beat everything together. So you want to beat these eggs pretty thoroughly. You want to make sure that there is no streaks of egg white left.
I think a surprising number of people out there don't know how to beat eggs.
You're basing this like on your boyfriend.
Yes.
Johnny doesn't know how to beat eggs, so like no one knows how to beat eggs.
Very few people. It's fewer than you think.
I mean, it's kind of true. Like Justin, when I first met Justin, he would kind of
what did he do?
He would do like this, like
yeah, he's like just floundering.
It would just be like slow, and I'd be like, "What are you doing? You have to really get in there." All right, that's it. We're ready to cook. So we're at the wok and we're ready to cook this dish. So the first step is to scramble the eggs. You're gonna cook them part of the way through, not all of the way through, because they're gonna cook again in the tomatoey sauce. So we're going to preheat the wok over medium heat and so that it is hot, so that the eggs are gonna cook very quickly, but they're not gonna brown or overcook, because you do want them to have that sort of like silky texture through the sauce. You don't want them to be like brown little like lumps. That's just me. I mean, if your mom is an egg browner, that's okay. But for us, we like the eggs a little bit on the more tender side, so we're gonna try our darndest to not overcook them. The goal is to see little wisps of smoke that are coming off the wok and then add cold oil to the wok. So you don't add any oil until it's been properly preheated. Those two steps are what give you that nonstick surface. That's what prevents your eggs from sticking to this wok surface. So here you see, the little wisps are happening. I'm gonna add 2 tablespoons of oil to the wok, and I'm gonna add the eggs. Okay. So I'm actually even gonna start stirring, because I don't want the eggs to sit too long on that hot wok surface, but also don't stir too much. So you just wanna like push the egg. Like as it starts to form this set cooked surface, just push it. Now I'm just gonna flip it because the bottom is getting more cooked. Okay, and that's it. Out. That's what you wanna see, that like slight runniness. I put it into the same bowl that we beat the eggs in because these eggs are gonna get cooked again. All right, so with the heat back on now, this time I want the heat on high. I'm gonna add another tablespoon of oil, and I'm gonna add the tomatoes and the scallions. And I'm just gonna stir fry them for about a minute. Okay, so now we're gonna season the tomatoes. So I'm gonna add that 2 teaspoons of sugar. And depending on how sweet your tomatoes are, you could reduce that if you like. I'm gonna add another ½ teaspoon of salt. Just gonna eyeball that. Sure. And now I'm gonna add a 1/4 cup of water. So the water in there is gonna help the tomatoes break down, and now I'm going to add the egg. Now I'm gonna cover it. It's going to simmer and braise for about 1 to 2 minutes. No, and it's not quite there yet. You want the tomatoes to be really soft, kind of like melt in your mouth texture. This is one of those things where you have to wait. You have to wait, but you can't like start cleaning or doing any of that other stuff, because then you waited too long and then you overcook it. So I'm just gonna stand here and watch it. Okay, and now we can stir fry everything together. I'm gonna break up the egg a little bit. And you see how like the tomato is like, it's still holding together, but it's very, very soft. And we can plate it and enjoy it. That's it. Chinese tomato and egg. It's a little bit saucy. It's not swimming in sauce. Like if you want it swimming in sauce, then just add more water in that previous step. But this is how I like it. Let's go taste it. Your aesthetic spoon doesn't pick up enough sauce. Switching to the regular spoon. All right, I'm gonna taste it now, and it looks really good. I think all of my college study abroad classmates would approve. Just the perfect balance of sweetness. Like it's not a sweet dish, but that little bit of sugar just brings out the flavor of the tomatoes. The more that you can smell your food before you eat it, like it's just gonna maximize the enjoyment of it.
People always make fun of me when I do that.
Do they?
Yeah, I like sniff it and they're like, what are you doing?
Not enough people smell their food. It's like, you gotta eat with all your senses, like your eyes and your nose and your mouth. So that was Chinese tomato and egg stir fry, a classic Chinese home cooked dish. You saw how easy it was to make. You can make it too. And I hope you love it. This should really just be eaten with a spoon. Like the college student canteen They just served it with like a Chinese soup spoon and you just like shoveled it. The best thing about the tomato and egg was that I think it was like 5 RMB, which at the time was like 80 cents.
Now we're paying $1 for 1 egg.